Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be walking you through the creation of this Thinking of You card, and I'm using distress inks and watercolor in a way that I have not used it before. I'm sure someone out there has done this before. It seems so obvious. I'm not sure why it took me so long to think of using distress inks this way. Today I'm going to be using the Uplifting Thoughts stamp set from Concord and Ninth, and you'll notice that all of the images are solid. There aren't any outlines. And for this particular way of using distress inks, you do need a solid image. So before I went onto my card, I decided to do a test run. So I've got 3 colors of distress ink. I've got pine needles, crushed olive, and mustard seed. And I'm going to start with mustard seed and just apply it to different sections of this really large leaf, kind of cluster of leaves image. I'm going to then go in with crushed olive, kind of go around some different areas. And then I'm going to fill in all of the gaps with pine needles. And as I'm putting these colors onto my stamp, I'm, sometimes using the edge of the ink pad or the corner. I'm just trying to get a little bit of this darker green shade in a few different areas across this stamp image. So now I'm going to stamp it down onto some watercolor paper. This is Arches Cold Press, which is very textured, and that's going to come into play when you see the look of these leaves once I watercolor them. So I have that stamped. So now I'm going to take just a wet watercolor brush. There's no paint on it, it's just clean water, and I'm going to go over these leaf shapes. And like most of the ink, I think kind of stays reactive and the water kind of activates and you can move that color around. But then some of the ink stays in the texture of the paper. It kind of gets that little dotted look. I think it's a really fun look to this. And at first I was like, I don't know about this. I really wanted it to be rather smooth without those kind of pockets of color. But the more I moved along and painted this, the more I really loved the look. And I think it lends itself to these really organic type of images. So I think you could paint flowers or leaves or anything in nature with this particular technique, and it would look really, really cool. So I did the test run going all the way across this and kind of mixing those different colors on the leaves, and it was pretty easy. Like there was almost no way to kind of mess this up. The only thing you have to make sure that you do when you stamp the leaves is make sure you have color on every single leaf, because otherwise you'll have to kind of fill in those gaps with just regular painting. So now I'm working on my 5x7 card. I've put the practice off to the side and I'm working on the actual card. And I stamped this large cluster of leaves 3 times so that it would fill like the entire bottom corner of my card and stretch all the way to the other side. So I did the same exact process where I put the 2 colors, like the mustard seed and crushed olive, and then came in and put in little tiny dabs of this pine needles shade. Pine needles, I discovered when I was doing my test run, is very, very strong in comparison to the other 2 colors. So I try to use it pretty sparingly. So here's that 3rd stamping. And by the way, I just put some white cardstock underneath the door of my MISTI so that it would show on camera where I was putting the color a little bit better. All right, so here's my card front. And I'm going to go through and paint exactly how I did on my test run. And this time, because I placed the colors a little bit differently, I have a little mixture of color, a little more mixture of color, it's going to look different. I think it looks really, really neat. Like I said before, I love all of those kind of polka dot textures. And when I finish painting, I'm actually going to lean heavily into that and put on some paint splatter, or in this case, some distress ink splatter. And that's really going to help all of those little pockets of color that are stuck in the paper, those little speckled areas. It's going to help them kind of fit in and not look almost like a mistake. It's going to look intentional. So moving along here, I've sped up the video 4 times speed, so it's very fast here. But I wanted to mention, because sometimes you guys ask how long it took me to paint this entire image. So including painting the practice image and the card, plus all of the card assembly, it was about 45 minutes. So the painting actually went fairly quickly. I would say maybe 15 minutes. And for a large image like this with multiple colors, I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty good for it to be that quick. All right, so I smushed mustard seed and also pine needles onto an acrylic block. Added a bunch of water so it made it much more liquid, so it could really move. And then I used a slightly larger paintbrush to splatter on the color. So when I was painting the leaves, I was using a size 2 round brush, and now I believe this is a size 6 or maybe even an 8. And I've just noticed that for bigger paint splatters, you need a bigger brush. So I did dab that off with a paper towel, just so I'd get some lighter shades on that ink splatter. And then I moved on to stamping. So I'm going to use the Thinking of You greeting from the stamp set. And I'm using a grid transparency from Simon Says Stamp in order to get that greeting on there completely straight. And then I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm going to stamp this greeting multiple times. I think I stamped it 3 times in total, and that's because after the first time stamping, it wasn't solid enough. I thought it needed to have a little more ink on there. So I did stamp it 2 more times, and that's when having a MISTI stamp positioning tool comes in handy, since you can stamp this over and over again without needing to remove your stamp image. So after I stamped my greeting in black, I realized that it needs some more black on the card to really make it feel like that greeting belongs. So I took a black pen. This is an envelope addressing pen from Pentel. And I used a T-square ruler to draw a very thin border around the outer edge. And I skipped over where all those leaves are, so it looks like the border is going behind the leaves. I then prepared a 5x7 card base and then adhered my watercolor panel directly to the front of the card. So that finishes the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of fun technique. I've never thought about using distress inks in this way, where I stamp a solid image and then reactivate the ink with water. I think it turned out really cool, and it kind of opened up my eyes to using solid images with distress inks more often. You can check out all the supplies I used in today's video down below. You can click over, and I have links to online stores, and I appreciate it when you guys shop through my links. Thanks so much for watching today. I've got 3 more videos on screen for you to check out. These are all going to be videos that feature distress inks. So if you're wondering what more techniques or things you can do through distress inks, you can check out any of these. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on Monday for a brand new Make Card Monday video.